Some of the very best things you could ever hope to acquire in this lifetime are derived straight from the worst experiences you will ever have. Yes, folks, trauma begets reward. I know that sounds like an oxymoron concept to some, but it's true. Science, historical data, some incredible anecdotes, and statistics all back this up. Follow me down this road because I'm going to list off what these rewards are, and I'll explain how you can attain them. They are precious, highly esteemed possessions. You're not going to want to miss out when the hard times come your way, and chances are they will. I'm Brady Armstrong. If you're going through a traumatic situation right now, or if one has come and gone, you can still reap the rewards, all 7 of them. Let's first define what it is exactly I'm talking about. Trauma, the lasting emotional response that results from living through a distressful event, a deeply troubling or disturbing experience. Okay, so stuff nobody wants to go through but that none of us can avoid. And since it can't be avoided, our focus goes to the brighter prospect, the silver lining. You've heard the saying, every cloud has a silver lining. Well, along with each traumatic experience comes very significant reward. Comparing these to buried treasure, so much of humanity fails to acknowledge and enjoy the rewards they have right under their feet, even after they've gone the distance and have paid the heavy price. If these rewards don't get exposed for what they are, they remain buried. By the end of this video, you may succeed at digging up a few treasures right within your grasp that simply would not be there had you not gone through something traumatic. But be careful. Like one commenter recently said to another video, sadly, some people just want to hold on to their pain. It's a true statement, but you and I, we don't have to miss out. Because of our pain, we can also discover the underlying rewards of trauma. Everyone is eligible to receive them, but most people won't. Do you know why? Because most take the easy road. It would be easy for me to sit here and make a long list of grievances instead, naming off all the awful things that have come from trauma and how they've made life suck. That would be easy. The bad is what most people dwell on. Trauma is like an earthquake that rips apart a civilization. It's a seismic event that comes along, seemingly out of nowhere, and breaks up the foundations of our lives. Anyone can walk down a tattered street after an earthquake and point out the flaws. Though a few enlightened people refuse to accept that as the final outcome. A fallen city gets wrecked and displays some shattered dreams. However, to select people, it also presents a new beginning. The same as with life when it falls apart. Detrimental circumstances create tension, heartbreak, and sorrow. But rather than sulk forever in misery, or just hope for a better world, a few will go out and actually create one. It takes a positive and motivated mindset for sure, but how do they do it? They look beyond the affliction. They don't give in to despair. They refuse perpetual anguish, and they leverage the 7 rewards of trauma. It really all boils down to convictions and attitude. As I go through these 7 rewards, I'll give you names of people who did something very meaningful with theirs. You might recognize some of these names. I'm going to intentionally use some examples that are not from Hollywood or mainstream pop culture to show that these were ordinary people who received their reward. The first reward of every trauma is a new opportunity. When a drastic change occurs, even a bad one, you're given an opportunity. You're given the freedom to make selections, to choose a new direction, and each choice you make invites a variety of new outcomes. Where will you go from here now that this has happened? Will you do something new? Are you going to learn from this? Or will you allow it to eradicate the quality of your life? You get to decide on the path you take. Opportunity is to change. Opportunity is to grow. Opportunity is to receive and also to serve. Some people refuse to see an opportunity. They insist things just go back to how they were. They demand what is gone to come back. They require restoration, reparation, and the perfect cure. It's frustrating, and all I'm going to say to that is, I feel you, okay? I've been through the mill of affliction too. But our lives are only going to last so long on this planet. While we're here, we may as well make the most of it and benefit from these new opportunities. That's exactly what James Partridge did. At the age of 18, a man named James Partridge was severely burned in a car fire that changed his face and his life forever. For the next few years, he underwent reconstructive surgery to repair the 40% burns to his face and body. Yet this guy, James, he never gave up. He continued on toward his goals despite his trauma. After graduating from university 5 years after the incident, James took an opportunity in farming. That new environment provided him opportunity to write his story down, which culminated in the publishing of his book, Changing Faces: The Challenge of Facial Disfigurement. Not much later, James saw another opportunity. He started a charity. Today, that charity, also named Changing Faces, is the world's leading foundation for people with visible differences and disfigurement. Literally thousands of lives around the world have benefited immensely for decades by the opportunities James recognized and acted on. Another saying you often hear is, everything happens for a reason. You might disagree with that statement. Nobody states the reason. What I tell myself is, hey, if you jump on the opportunities a trauma provides you, you may very well create the reason for it happening. The second reward of a trauma comes in the form of people. When genuine relationships are formed, heroes are made, and existing friendships are edified. Look around. Did you meet anybody new? Did somebody appear to help you through the ordeal? Did anybody come to your aid unexpectedly? Were you, while in the midst of it, reminded of the importance that somebody fills in your life? After that person came to mind, have you since reached out to them or honored them in some way? It's not too late. There are so many heroes in the realm of trauma. William Ayotte once battled a polar bear with a shovel, lost his ear to the bear, but saved a woman's life. Kyle Carpenter threw himself in a live grenade and saved a fellow Marine. Nurses everywhere are everyday heroes. Neighbors who grieve with each other often become close friends. Relatives who don't speak often reunite thanks to a family crisis. When I almost died, people came from every direction. Friends, relatives, strangers alike. They all came to my rescue, offered aid, and showed me they cared. I'm sure just like many of you, I didn't ask for the help, but it came nonetheless. The reward of people is truly an amazing one. The third reward of trauma is increased wisdom. And I know I don't need to tell you this, but the wisdom one gains from a traumatic experience cannot be absorbed through a textbook, classroom, or video. First-hand experience type wisdom is unique in that it provides witness. With that witness testimony, wisdom serves to bolster advocacy for or against any monumental change. In India, near the Taj Mahal in Agra, is a cafe called Shiro's Hangout. The all-female staff working there have something in common. They are all survivors of brutal acid attacks. They have the physical and emotional scars that recorded their abuse. Before that cafe opened, many of those women hadn't left their homes or shown their faces for years. Now they collectively share their wisdom, raise awareness, and advocate for change while greeting their customers. The traumas they faced have given rise to a groundbreaking and beautiful inspirational movement. You don't need national attention to claim your reward of wisdom. Point blank, you lived through something others haven't. Now you have knowledge that even experts lack, and it's coupled with sound judgment on what is right and what is misunderstood. The most accelerated student can learn all they want about a topic and never gain full understanding of it. We all can learn something special through the survivor who has been there and lived it. The fourth reward of trauma is inner strength. Referring to the now overused cliche, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, we have a good portrayal of what resilience is and what it looks like. Affirming we can emotionally overcome any adversity that we live through. That quote, which I'm sure you're singing right now thanks to Kelly Clarkson, was actually coined by German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche in 1888 in his writing Twilight of the Idols. The full line states, "Out of life's school of war, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger." Deeper study of resilient theory suggests the act of suffering does not in and of itself make us stronger. Real-life cases indicate that. Rather, the reaction to suffering is what builds strength. for the next trial if we treat it as an opportunity to build strength. Those who are strong are they who choose to react well. The strength we receive is manifested in our response to subsequent traumas down the road. Your favorite rags to riches and comeback stories of, say, Abe Lincoln, J.K. Rowling, and Nelson Mandela, among many others, illustrate how people have chosen to react and build inner strength, not in spite of, but because of their traumas and defeats. If we are not pushed over the edge of our limits, our emotional muscles become stretched and strengthened for the next round. The fifth reward is the value for life. And this one must be explained from different angles, for not everybody comes away from a traumatic experience believing their life just increased in value. Many do see it that way, yet to the opposite, many doubt that life has but any value left at that juncture. Some find value in the amount of life they've been spared. The spectrum of ideas here is wide enough to span humankind, and this is precisely the point. Traumatic situations provoke introspection, making us pause individually and contemplate not only the value of our own life, but also to consider the value of life in general. Trauma plants the questions. What is life? Why are we here? What is the purpose of it all? With those questions, we each get to decide or forever search for the value of human life and the purpose of our own. Charles Hunt is founder of the Audacity firm. In a popular TEDx talk, Charles illustrates a dark, traumatic childhood in the 1980s where he was raised on welfare and in a drug house by his addict mother. His father was murdered in prison when Charles was just 10 years old. Everything about that obscure environment indicated Charles was destined for failure. But as he explained in the talk, it's not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond. With a belief that his life had far more value than the troubles surrounding him, Charles climbed out and above his poverty to a life of purpose. His is to proclaim a message that inspires, lifts, and motivates others to do the same. The sixth reward is the potential for monetary increase. Every inspirational book and movie you ever read or saw that is based on a true story or on historical facts made somebody money. Survivors of all kinds of trauma are presented with a monetary reward if they choose to accept and do something with it. It's one more opportunity. If motives are good and if the story is honest, then full speed ahead. Cheryl Hunter has a story to tell. As a teenager, she was abducted, held captive, and left for dead. Her story has been well broadcasted across several mediums. So well, in fact, that she runs a full business training other survivors how to get their stories picked up by big media at no small fee. Motivational speakers are duly compensated for their talks. Books are widely distributed to help and inspire, all for a very small price. Companies are formed, they grow and thrive on the stories of people who overcame every kind of trauma. The seventh and last reward on the list is the power to influence. This one transcends the monetary exchange with a much broader and impactful reach. The power to influence is purely remarkable. It brings all the other rewards together into one great whole. When we look back on our lives, what do we see? We see memories. The sum of those memories becomes the story of our lives, and the pieces of those stories that carried positive influence will forever be the highlights. One story is enough to change the world. The example I have for this is the story of Josh Shipp. You may have heard of him. Josh was abandoned at birth, grew up as a troubled youth in foster care, and eventually turned into a motivational speaker. He went on to create Youth Speaker University. Through his courses and workshops, aspiring speakers learn the craft of delivering a powerful message. Collectively, they influence millions of people. Josh tributes his own success and triumph over his personal traumas to the positive influence of just one single adult. Think of it. Just one person influenced another. And although that would have been enough, it created a chain reaction, influencing multitudes upon multitudes with no end in sight. If you only were to influence one person with your story of your traumatic experience, it would be enough. But you never know where that influence will go. We could talk about the power of video and the influence of this medium, but I think it speaks for itself. The 7 rewards of trauma are yours for the taking. Your traumatic experience contains potential energy, a bright power waiting to be unleashed. You can suffer from the experience indefinitely, or you can use it to help yourself. Better yet, you can leverage it to help and change mankind. I hope you enjoyed learning about the 7 rewards of trauma. Let me know which ones you identified with in the comments and what you plan to do with them next.